Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the This is the Music Meets Podcast, an independent podcast show that's dedicated to introducing you to rising indie and alternative artists from across the UK and Ireland. If you're new here, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss out any brand new episodes, and don't be shy. Drop us a comment as I would love to hear from you. Okay then, let's dive into episode 155 of the This is the Music Meets podcast, where today I'm joined by a band who have sold over 2 million records. They've had 12 UK top 40 singles and they have been streamed over 50 million times. It is a real pleasure and a privilege to be joined by Nigel Clarke of Dodgy. Nigel, thanks very much for joining me on the This is the Music Meets podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I'm good. It's getting used to the fact that it's autumn now and the nights are drawing in. Been very busy, so I'm kind of tired and I've got to go. I've just got back and I've just had a couple of days proper sleep and stuff, and then realised I've got to go back out tomorrow again for more gigs. So yeah, there's no rest for the wicked, as they say.
Yeah, that's it. It's you mentioned in the autumn there. It's surprising actually how it's crept up on us. Seems to have.
It really is. I think that might be the fact that we've had a really good summer and the fact that I'm okay about it being dark now. Last year, it was just dark all the time. It rained every day almost, didn't it? So you just got used to it being dark. So you didn't notice. The transition has been quite remarkable though. So yeah, I'm just getting used to it.
Yeah, sure. And as I say, it's obviously fantastic to have you here, and it is, I'm assuming anyway, a pretty exciting time to be in Dodgy right now. Obviously, the new single "Hello Beautiful" is out. It's out now on all streaming platforms. Obviously, the album next year. Plus, you're going to be hitting the road again as well later on, or next month, in fact. So what's the mood then like right now in Dodgy?
Really amazing. It's such a brilliant thing to be involved with. I mean, it is. I mean, it's kind of similar to what it was like in the 90s, and we have been going a long time since the 90s. We've been, but this last year has been our busiest year. We've been recording a new album, so we've been finishing those songs that have been hanging around on different phones and hard drives and stuff like that, giving them new meaning, fresh meaning, because it's having this, it's being able to finish songs, and you need a reason to finish songs, and an album always brings that out. And the band have been brilliant. Everyone's worked really well together. The first album that we've done with Graham, our new keyboardist, and we're also working with some really brilliant people. So that's taken a big load off me, because I did the mixing of the last album and I found it really difficult. I loved it, but I'm not a mixer. I'm a recorder. I love recording, but mixing is a different game altogether, of which I know. And I have, getting the level, but the guy we're working with now is fantastic. So he's made it a whole lot easier. So we can just focus on what's really important, the songs, the lyrics, the performance, the music.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And obviously, you just mentioned obviously your previous album was out about 10 years ago now, and obviously the new single came out last week, "Hello Beautiful." So, what then was the decision to sort of why did the band decide that now was the right time, to start recording and obviously releasing new music again?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the last record that we had put out. What's it called? What Are We Fighting For? Was with a record label, and they didn't do any promotions. It was very much a budget. It ended up being done in my house, in my studio at home, for months and months in between working as a teacher. This is 10 years ago. I was sort of like a part-time music teacher at a school for people with, emotional difficulties. And so that was quite stressful in itself. And then going home and then sort of getting used to. I mean, I've been doing music since I was, recording music since I was in my teens, late teens. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing it a long time. So I do trust myself. But at the end of the day, it's when you're not sure, there's going to become questions. Well, what do I do with the floor, Tom? How do you deal with that? So this has been an amazing feeling that, that was a bad feeling. So we didn't want to jump back into it, but that hasn't stopped me, definitely me, and some of the others writing and recording, and then going through the process of choosing songs for the album for Dodgy. They could have been solo songs, but we chose the Dodgy songs, and it's been fantastic. Very lucky.
Yeah, yeah, and the single itself, it kind of like still feels like classic Dodgy. Obviously with the harmonies and sort of like the shimmering guitars as well that you've got within the soundscape there. But it also kind of like has as a sort of like a fresh and sort of like modern sort of an exciting sound as well. So obviously there we've mentioned the gap in the releases. So how then did you approach like songwriting and recording it after such a long time away? Obviously, you know, the band have obviously been together for over 30 years. So I'm guessing it was quite a natural process.
I think so. I think you're aware of, like, when I'm writing songs or working on songs or grooves, I do it all in my studio. I sort of know what tempo it is. I know what key it's in. I can see it. So when you generally go with a band, everyone will speed it up to a God knows what tempo, and it will totally change. And what happens is when I write a song, I do it from the breathing and singing and the voice and the melody. So when you up that tempo, the breathing goes out, you're false, you're going to hurt your throat, it's not going to be an enjoyable process. And we've learned that that's what it is. It's about going back to that original feel, because you spend ages when you do a demo just getting it feeling right, and it's about the feel. And I think we've really learned about the feel. I know better late than never, but it's like, it's definitely we've just learned a lot on this record, because it's all become very clear and
Yeah.
apparent, because we were true to it right from the start. So we haven't that was essence was right, so we've gone with it, and it's shown to be the correct way, because it just keeps throwing new things at us. And by the way, the Hello Beautiful does sound like classic Dodgy, but I don't think we went out for it to be that. But I was in the kitchen the other day listening to it, and I went, it's just like good enough. It's got that sort of, and you couldn't do, I've for years tried to go, how do you reproduce good enough? And do it by not trying, if you know what I mean. So I think
Yeah.
that may be a natural sound of the band. So that makes me feel quite happy when you don't try, something good comes out.
Yeah, yeah, sure, no, definitely, and obviously the title, "Hello Beautiful," sort of sounds like really uplifting, and I think that's reflected as well in within the soundscape, like within the melody
Yeah.
of the song. Is there like a particular story, or an inspiration behind the song at all, like behind the lyrics or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's the mental health side to it, really. And I think that, that's a really big important thing to the help, to being positive, to trying to be
Yeah.
positive. And I'm more, as the days have gone on and the single was released on Friday, I've become more realized it more that, it's a much needed antidote to what's going on in the world in the big picture. It's like, it's a devastating thing that's going on. And I feel that, like, music, as it always has done for me, it's always been my escapism.
Hmm.
When I first listened to my first records that bought, it was escapism. You escape reality, and I think that writing songs has the same benefit, really. And so it's such a positive message that everybody needs to remember. That, whether they say it to their dog, their wife, their kids, "Hello, beautiful" is just such a important message to keep putting out there. So, yeah, good enough positivity. Hello, beautiful positivity. In this day and age, there's nothing wrong with positivity.
No, definitely not. And I think it's actually quite sad that, if you are positive, that you're almost like frowned upon a little bit in a strange sort of way, because it's like, well, why are you happy? As you say, with everything that's going on at the moment,
Just, yeah.
in the world with, with lots of various different political stuff going on.
Yeah, all over the world. Yeah, and I think it is. I think, do you know what? It's like, I remember I was really into Bob Marley when I was younger. I still am, and I believe the hardest songs to write are happy ones,
Hmm.
and positive ones. I think that it's true, and it's true. And Hello Beautiful does it by such a, it is painting a picture of loss and painting a picture of not knowing and despair, but at the same time, you've got to, like, look at yourself and say, okay, that was then, this is now. I'm going to pick myself up. I'm going to do something, small steps, and I think we've all been through that, and some more than others. And definitely since lockdown, the whole landscape of the mental health of society has changed. So I think we've all learned to be ourselves, and I think this is a message outward, and I think this album feels like that. It feels like a very human album.
Mhm.
And I know I say that as a man in my 50s, but I feel I couldn't write this before now. You know, I don't think we could have written this before I wrote Phrase. Do you know what I mean? Because we didn't have that knowledge,
Yeah.
that knowing, the experience,
Hmm.
of what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, no, sure, definitely. And obviously to support the release of the single, you obviously played a single launch party in Kingston upon Thames, which I believe the venue has some real sort of like significant sort of like value and importance to Dodgy. So yeah, can you just tell us like a little bit about that and how did the gig go?
Yeah, it's a great story actually. So in 1989, 1990, Dodgy had sort of like formed. 1990 we formed, in the early 90s, and we'd started. I think we started doing a couple of gigs around London, but you had to pay for them, and no one was coming because they didn't know who we were. And I just thought we're going to be here forever if we do this. And there's like 10,000 bands in the late 80s, early 90s in London, all trying to make it from these 5 major record labels, Creation Records. So it was like kind of like this challenge, and then so I was just like, we're not going to do this. We're going to have to find our own venue. So we went down to Kingston. We lived in Hounslow. We moved down. We went down to Kingston one night and found Bacchus Wine Bar, and it was a restaurant downstairs. We went down to the basement, and it was just full of tables and chairs. But it was a basement like the Cavern, but
Right.
smaller. And we just went. We found it. And we went upstairs said to the guy who owned it and said, "Can we run a night here on a Tuesday?" And he said, "With the band and some DJs." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll keep the bar, you keep the door." And we did it every 2 weeks for about 18 months.
Yeah.
But in that space and time, we got signed. So it was our club. It was our thing. And we were all buoyed by the fact that we had this one song that was like the song where we knew we'd got it. We'd done the song. It's
Yeah.
like when you listen to it and you go, yeah, it does everything right at the right time. Fuck, we've done it. And that was Lovebird. So it was kind of Lovebird sort of gave us the confidence to keep believing in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And it
sure.
was as in the dream, and the Dodgy Club was born, and it was the right thing to do, and it was create our own path and leave a trail, and just be ourselves. And I think it was the start, and the confidence grew from there, really. So a brilliant thing. And then to go back there 35 years later, and it's not changed one bit. It's still going as a venue, which is amazing because it
Wow,
wasn't a venue
brilliant.
when we found it. So to have a legacy of that as well, and to be part of Kingston rock history, with David Bowie, because he played there a lot. And,
Yeah.
I know this because we're in the sort of library down there, in there, sort of like a whole sort of piece about Kingston and rock music and pop music. So Dodgy managed to get in there, although none of us are from Kingston. It's just like, it's just we just picked Kingston. It's just such a random story, but it's a rags to riches story in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And how was I'm assuming that Hello Beautiful, that was potentially the first time that you've played it in front of an audience.
Yeah,
How was it
yeah.
received?
It was the first time we've played it acoustic because, like the old days, we've started playing a lot of our new songs before the album comes out. Just, do you know what I mean? I think it's
Yeah,
really good to do that. So we've been
yeah,
playing Hello
definitely.
Beautiful for a while, but we played it acoustically, and it was lovely. And it just felt really, because when we used to do it, we used to have a DJ. We used to choose the music, have the DJs. DJ, and then Dodgy would go on for half an hour at 10, and then from half 10 to like half 11 we'd just chat at the bar with all the other kids. We were only kids,
Yeah,
and because no one was a pop star then, do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
We were just putting something on that we wanted to promote our music, and fortunately people would come along, and so you got to know them, and it was very similar to that on Friday, so it's sort of, you leave your egos at the door and you just go in, and it's just like, yeah, it's a speakeasy. It was really, really cool. Lovely to be back. It was a great night.
brilliant, brilliant, great stuff. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier on, you've got a new album. It's going to be Dodgy's sixth album coming out. I think it's about May 2026 that is at the moment
Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
pending for. It's obviously been a long time coming, a new album. What can you tell us about it? What's the sort of, the vibe of the album that you've got there?
I would say it was probably the first word that came to my mind then was effortless.
Right?
But I feel that, like, it's been very It's been very, very easy because I think the songs we've chosen and the work we've done pre-doing the album and going in the studio, even though some of the songs I took in and like we hadn't played them before, and it's just like they've come out really brilliant. So I just think it's knowing who you're writing for and knowing what you're doing. And I look at the band and there's 5 of us. We've got a trombone player, we've got a piano, who plays piano, drums. We all sing. So I'm thinking, you've got how this song with harmonies is going to work brilliant. It's got keys, bit of trombone, but and it's like that's how it works really with Dodgy. If I'm thinking of writing my own songs on my acoustic guitar for me, then I know that's what they are.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Dodgy ones, it seemed effortless to just pick them out because they were already there. They had drums, they had bass, like whether it be a drum machine and a synth bass, which where a lot of my things start weirdly, and then I take them right back to being organic, which is like it's just like keeping the way you write songs interesting, I think. I couldn't be just writing all my songs on an acoustic guitar for 35 years. If one, I hadn't learned finger picking, but 2, if I hadn't got drum machines, keyboards, and synths, and interest, doing Logic. That's what I'm into. I'm into all the sounds and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, yeah. And when when you were writing the songs for the album, were they in mind for a Dodgy album, or like did you know? Obviously, I'm assuming that you've gone back quite a few years with some of the writing potentially.
Yeah.
Did you know that they were 100% going to end up on a Dodgy album, or not?
Yeah, I'd say 90%. I would. Maybe Matthew coerced me a couple of times because what I'd do is I'd just get all the songs together. I'd always send Matt songs, and then he'd come round to mine, and we'd just listen to tunes, and then we'd take them home, and then it would sort of like whittle it down, and then that would become, the song. I'd say 80% of the time that would happen. Yeah. And then the other 20% was I'd just bring something in they've never heard and go, I like this. What do you think? You got to go. And I think that's the great thing because it's like in music, you spend a lot of time just waiting in the wings to actually do it, whether it's writing, whether it's waiting backstage to go on stage, whether it's in the studio waiting to go and do your bit. And there's a lot of thinking going on, but when you actually get out there and do it, it's actually brilliant, and it's like so much better than you thought it could be. And that's what you're reminded. That's why you do it. It's a buzz. It's the biggest buzz in the world.
Yeah, I can imagine with some of my we won't mention about my feeble attempts at trying to write songs over the years, but anyway, I can totally understand that. But let's just leave the present just a moment, and we'll sort of go back to sort of the 90s and obviously Britpop. Obviously, as you mentioned earlier on there, Nigel, that obviously you sort of formed in sort of late 89, early 1990, and I guess you were clearly right there at sort of the beginning of the whole Britpop sort of scene that sort of occurred, sort of a couple of years sort of later. So when you look back on it now, what was that time like? Was it exciting to be a part of it?
I think from where we'd come from, I think it was kind of like it wasn't like that in the early 90s. It's like I had a mortgage. I was 19 years old and had a mortgage and had a decent job. And I just realised I don't want this. I don't want this. Everyone wants me to want it, but I just don't. And I was really sorry, and I didn't want it. And that was the sort of staying out for the summer thing. It was like, you get one chance at this. And I was like, I like music. I was pretty shit at it as well, but I liked it. And I think if you like something or if you love something, then stick with it, really. And I think that going down to London with Matthew with that sort of feeling and like the shared thing of like going, Math, it's rubbish out there. They want you to do things that you're not going to like. You know what I mean? Because he was a couple of years younger and he just finished school. So we moved down there and obviously starting the Dodgy Club. And then just knowing that you're like, you're out going to clubs and the Falcon. I remember all the pre-Britpop places, and it was a great time because it wasn't an expensive time. Even though you were living in London, it didn't seem like you were being ripped off as much. Do you know what I mean? Or you go to these bars and it just didn't. I mean, it just didn't, and it felt like it was affordable for young working class artists or wannabe artists, moving to London and following a dream. It felt possible and believable. Now I think it feels very strange to people from a working class background, and if they do it, then bloody hell, they're brilliant.
Yeah. No, Yeah, absolutely. Funny
Um,
enough, I was at Wembley on Sunday. You mentioning about the cost of things at the moment, and it was £8 50 for a pint of lager, which I'm pretty sure was being poured out of a can as well. So it probably wasn't even a proper pint, but yeah, £8 50 in London. I know it's a music venue and maybe they add on a little bit extra, but it's shocking, really, as you say, the
that
affordability
is,
of
but it
stuff.
just feels like that. It feels like, it didn't feel like, I think it felt more like just getting by in the 90s, where now it just feels like getting rich.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It just feels like, everyone wants to get rich because that's what we're being led. And it's like such a money orientated thing. And unfortunately, good music doesn't come from that. It doesn't
no.
really, it doesn't come, soulful music doesn't come from that. You can't buy that. You have to, you have to be that.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think as well to touch on as well, unfortunately, it as a result, it seems to be getting further and further away and harder as well for
hmm
the working classes really now to
In
try
any
and
creative
break.
industry,
Yeah,
in any creative industry, and whether it be an artist, actor, in anything, and it's obviously, that's what happens. It's just like, and it's terrible, and it's not right, and it wasn't like that in the 90s, and if we're looking at some socio-economic difference, that would probably be one part of it.
hmm
But it wasn't a rip-off. We didn't see much of a rip-off. Maybe I'm wrong and deluded, but I had nothing, but I was happy.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's true, and to pick up as well what you said there about if you've got a passion for something as well, then just keep plugging away at it, and it will happen.
I think it will. I mean, I think the thing about me was, I think what it was having a partner, which was mainly Matthew. So
Yeah.
having the partner, so that we shared that from when we were young. Before we moved down, we had that sort of shared thing, albeit it was quite sort of, it was quite fractious at the start. No, at the start during Dodgy, but like now, that relationship is cemented amazingly. And Andy, who was obviously an original member, always felt like the George Harrison of the band. You know what I mean? Which says a lot, because George Harrison was the best musician out of a lot, and Andy's way above us as a musician. So that. So we complement each other in a very good way now, and I think that's really nice. It's like, we you know what we expect is what we expect from each other as musicians, and we've done that. And so everybody, the vibe in the camp is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I could imagine, and just still sort of on that '90s type of theme. Was there a moment with Dodgy when you thought, do you know what, we've cracked it, we've made it now, we've sort of almost like broken through, I guess, from being sort of like hopefuls to yeah, we've come through that, and now we've kind of like made it.
Yeah, there's so many, isn't there? There's so many, because they're all like little steps up a little ladder to a door with a star on it, a gold star, and you walk. Unfortunately, I fell off halfway up, I think. Or someone stopped the escalator. uh, um, yeah, I don't know. Well, sorry, what was the question again? I went off then.
And was there a moment in the sort of
Oh yeah.
'90s where you sort of
Okay.
thought, had Dodgy made it?
Yeah, there is a lot of them. I mean, they're like supporting Stiff Little Fingers at Brixton Academy when we were like hadn't been signed, and I love SLF and doing that. And then you think, oh my God, I've done something. I I have a story about Stiff Little Fingers. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Mm.
they were one of my bands from being a kid, and so that was a really amazing feeling. And then obviously getting to play Glastonbury, even though I hadn't been to Glastonbury,
Yeah.
getting to play Reading, getting to play all these festivals, and just like, and then you get to play all these venues, and it's just like you pinch yourself, but you don't feel it. You just go, you just like go, yeah, you're on all the time. Whereas like now I'm off most of the time and on like a couple of hours a day when I'm on stage or in the studio. Then you're on all the time until you sleep. It's like just like being in a Beatles movie, the one where they all live together. It really is. For those first 2 years, it was about the only 2 years, may I say, that when we were like sort of doing the pop star thing, it was like that. It was on. Great.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, simple times as well. I'm sure.
Yes.
But kind of like, well, certainly to sort of like my ears, like Dodgy always sort of seemed to bring a sort of like a more positive, like sun-soaked sort of like vibe compared to some of the other sort of artists. So maybe a little bit darker in that sort of like that sort of Brit poppy sort of phase. Do you think that that sort of sound sort of set you apart from some of some of the other bands in that sort of era?
Yeah, they were all putting it on, weren't they? They were on putting it on, being moody. Oh, it's cool to be moody. Let's just be moody. Yeah, it's not. I don't buy it. I mean, if you're gonna, yeah, I suppose it's an approach to how you live your life, really. And I think that as a band, we do approach things positively, and I think everyone does. But then, and when you look at some of the lyrics and the songs, they're not. They're taking you on a journey of like, not all isn't good. All isn't good with the world, but that's okay as long as you know it and you don't deny yourself it and try and hide it away, and and all that grows is blame, and you just end up blaming everybody else for your mistakes because you're scared to look at them. I think, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut that one short. I keep drifting off. Not drifting off in my brain. My brain gets.
Yeah, no, I know totally what you mean. And obviously, obviously this summer has often been really talked about in terms of, Oasis and obviously Carter getting back together and obviously being supported by the likes of Cast and sort of Richard Ashcroft, and I think that Radiohead as well. We've got some dates coming up towards the end of the year. Have you been sort of like watching that at all with any sort of like interest? And
I mean, let's face it, you can't not watch the Oasis thing, can you? I mean, it's just been like I don't think I've known anything like it before in my life. It's a phenomenon. It's like, I mean, it must have been like kind of what it was like when the Beatles were around in the 60s. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But then it's on social media, and so it's sort of like, I mean, I know all the songs, and obviously I know all the songs. I haven't been to see them. I don't like big festivals, if I'm honest. I really don't. I mean, I'm one of them people that gets there and goes, right, I'm looking for somewhere to go or get out
Yeah.
of. It's not for me, even to see my favourite artist. So to be fair, it's nothing to do with that. But like, yeah, phenomenon. It's like absolutely phenomenal, and it's like it's just brought a whole sort of thing back to me from when I remember everybody had Thriller by Michael Jackson in the 90s because not because they liked it, because they felt like they had to have it. And
Yeah.
I think that they have to have that. I did that in 2025. I went to Oasis, and I think that's fine. I went to Wales on holiday. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's all relative, isn't it? It's like, but yeah, great. It's been a lot, hasn't it? And it's great. And I mean, Super Furry Animals have got back together, which is really good. I know Matthew's really keen about that coming back next year, so that'll be great. And like you say, it's never gone away because the thing is, the industry's died on its arse. Do you know what I mean? They're not signing artists like they did. So the last sort of like big signing probably was the 90s that made any in the old world where we actually sold records rather than streams. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you sort of, and it's. I can't take it away from them. Listen, Noel and all those and that band and Oasis work fucking hard. They work so hard.
Yeah.
You or I, it's not for mere mortals like you and I to work that hard. I couldn't do that. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't do that. And it's just like they work really hard to do what they've done, and good on them. Good on them. Why can't I take that from their working class kids from Burnage? I'm not taking that from them.
Yeah.
No way. No way.
Yeah, definitely. They sure have. And just sort of coming back then, still sticking with the live sort of music type of thing, but obviously coming back really now to Dodgy, because you've obviously got some very exciting live plans coming up in October. Obviously going to be heading out on tour with Black Grape. The ticket link for that is going to be in the episode bio, so do click it and make sure you go and grab a ticket for these upcoming dates, as I say. So how then did the collab come around with Black Grape?
I think it was our agent. Yeah, I think he's pretty sure it was our agent. He's always trying to like sort of like think up things like this, I think he's got Black Grape as well. So, and it was like sort of normally, like you say, we did a summery positive band. I mean, we really struggle for gigs in the winter time, and I'm quite happy about that because I like working hard during the summer and sort of spring and summer, and then having the winter off. But this year we're going to go out with the Black Grape guys, and we do know them, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's like 12 or 13 dates to end the year, really, end of November to December. Going to all the major cities. But we're going away this couple of next few weeks, actually. So anyway, we're doing a little tour of our own. But yeah, so the Black Grape thing is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. It's like I've got one tour to do before that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
No, it'd be great. It'd be great fun. Great into the year as well. And a great end to our year. And it's like, I think we're in Manchester on the 20th of December for our Christmas party. Because every band has like a hometown, but Dodgy doesn't, because we're all from different places. But then I thought the other day, Kingston is where we started. So even though we never lived there, maybe it's our hometown as a band. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Do it. I'm sure if you build it, as they say, the people will come.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
And kind of like from your own perspective, Nigel, what do you like best about touring? Obviously, we've mentioned throughout you've obviously been in the industry for for sort of 30 plus years. So what is it? Where's that hunger coming from? Where's that energy coming from that you like? Do you know what? I still want to go out there and go and play live.
Yeah, I think I think it's all based on the fact that I do quite like driving. um, I think the fact is that like you have to like driving if you do this as a living.
Yeah.
And I do like driving. I've got a camper van. I pick a couple of the guys up on the way if I'm going that way, or like, I'm going north tomorrow, so I'll go in the van. And yeah, I like driving. I've got a day off tomorrow, but I've got to drive north because I've got a gig in Edinburgh with the band on Thursday. And yeah, because you're driving like I'm driving like 7 hours to get there, and I'm playing for an hour and 30 minutes. It's like, yeah, you must love it, and I do love it. I think there's a thing that I can't actually explain, a magic that happens
Hmm.
when you even if there's not a stage there, when you walk onto that place in front of people, behind a PA speakers and in front of a microphone, a magic happens, and it's sort of like I said earlier, it's you spend all your time not doing, and then when you do it, it's like, oh my God, this is what I'm here for. So you feel like that. So it's kind of like the best feeling in the world, and the more you do it, the more confident you get about talking when you're on stage and
Yeah.
being yourself, and knowing that you're never going to come across as stupid as someone like Donald Trump. And no matter what I say, it's never going to come across as so. Just don't take it so seriously and enjoy it. And it's such an enjoyable thing. I'm so glad I chose it. It's not the easiest way to make a living, but to be fair, I mean, it's like I've not found anything else that comes anywhere near.
Yeah, sure. And what then can people expect, that are coming up to these run of live dates in terms of your set? Is it going to be a sort of a concentration of the forthcoming album, or is it going to be sort of a greatest hits style, or is it going to be a combination
It's a
of
bit
the
of
two?
both, really. Yeah, it's a bit of both because it's like I've brought a couple of new songs in, and we'll do a couple of new songs from the new album. But I've been doing a lot of acoustic gigs as well. I've been sort of adapting Dodgy songs to a sort of more
Right.
mature solo artist. Do you know what I mean? And sort of that sort of thing. People are sat down. Candles. There's little duck things on the candles and lights and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, so I've been doing acoustic, and I played them the other day. A couple of them to Andy and Matthew and Stu and Graham, and they were like, "Let's do that." So we'll put a few of those in, sort of like different versions of our old songs, or some of them, not the real famous ones. Only that the super fans will know. You know who you are, Mom.
Brilliant, brilliant, great stuff. I
And a
love
few jokes.
it. Brilliant, brilliant. So on every This Is the Music Meets podcast, we ask our guests a series of questions that sort of designed to be a little bit more light-hearted, hopefully, and they help the listeners find out a little bit more about the artists that we're interviewing and chatting to. So Nigel, can you remember what was the first gig you ever went to as a punter?
Oh my God. I think it was The Damned. It was The
Right.
Damned.
Wow.
Yeah, but I was a kid. I was at school. Went straight after I had my punk clothes in my bag,
Brilliant.
and I went to Edgbaston, and it was like 1982, I think. And I went there with my mate. We were the first people there because we got the bus straight after school. We were so excited. Great story, great gig. Love The Damned, absolutely. You know, yeah, one of the most amazing experiences ever. Incredible.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Love that. What a memory. What a memory. And what are your top three favorite albums of all time?
God. Okay, so Marvin Gaye, What's Going On?
Oh, nice. Classic.
Yeah, it's an easy one, that one. Oh God. Oh God. Revolver by the Beatles.
Yeah.
and Marquee Moon by Television.
Oh, nice. I like that. Yeah, I've checked that last one out. So I know the other two, but yeah, I'll check out.
I
Uh,
love putting. I like putting a curveball in.
yeah.
You know me, Mark.
Absolutely. Well, it'd be all boring, right? If it was all the same all the way through.
Exactly.
What's your go-to? Vinyl, cassette, CD, or streaming?
Well, I'm sorry to say, it's probably streaming these days.
Is it really? Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
I would say so. I have got a record player, but it's not in my studio, and I just haven't been around. I think music, sitting down and listening to music for me at the moment has been working on my own stuff,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and not putting a record on, putting my feet up and going, "Oh, this is nice." So I just don't seem to have time to do that. And I listen to a lot of music when I'm on the road in my van, as well as Audible books and the World Service, which I've really got into now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool, cool. What this is probably a really unfair question to ask, but I'm going to ask it. And we can always move around it if we need to. But what is from all of the songs that Dodgy have written, what would be your personal favorite track that you've done?
Favorite track? Well, I mean, this is going to go. I mean, everyone knows this one though, and it's like only because it's been so good to me. And I think songs are just like that. I think they're like sort of like children who do well out there. Not all your children do well. They may do. Like if you've got radio edge children, maybe they do. But like but in ours, I think Good Enough has been the best because it's lasted all these years and it's still played and it's still loved and it's still sang back and it seems like we touched part of the English psyche or the British
Mhm.
psyche with that song, and that feels really special. And that feels really special to be part of that in a historical way. That
Yeah.
even like yeah. So I feel a little bit of gravitas from that, which is great, and it's real, you know. So yeah, I'm not going to shy away from it. It's my biggest hit. It's my favourite song.
Love that, brilliant. And obviously, as we discussed earlier on in the podcast, obviously you're going to be going back out on tour in the coming months. So the question is, what music will be played whilst you're travelling to each gig? Are we looking at sort of like the old sort of classic stuff, or are you listening to any emerging artists at the moment? What's your
Yeah, I don't listen to any classic stuff anymore. I think we all did that when, years ago, like the end of the 90s, when it all became free via Napster. Everyone just went, oh, I'm going to get into the Kinks now. It's free. And, and I think we just went through all that. And I sort of don't listen to the classics anymore, maybe occasionally, but I listen to a lot of Northern Soul. I love Northern Soul.
yeah?
I listen to a lot of old music, but I also I really like Tame Impala. One of their new songs. There's a really good song. I can't remember. It's called Sunshine or something like that, and it's brilliant. But it's real techno. It's like it just takes me back to the clubs in the 90s, and he
Yeah,
was only
yeah.
a kid, but it's really good. And so I like that sort of thing. I'm very yeah. I listen to a lot of different stuff really, and a lot of new stuff. I try and listen to as much new stuff as I can because you can on Spotify. So if you see a review or someone raving about a band, I'll give them a listen. Normally on Spotify and see what I think. And it's a good thing as well because it's good to like go, you don't have to like everything, but you can try and find out what is good about it. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And there's a lot of questions you could ask about new music because I mean, yeah, I like it, not all of it. Yeah, I will be
That
listening to all of that stuff and a lot of audible stories and stuff like that, comedies.
Yeah, yeah, sure, okay. Look, Nigel, that is unfortunately the end of the
Oh,
This
I
Is the
enjoyed that.
Music
That's
Meets
good fun.
podcast. Oh, great! Great to hear, and thank you very much for joining me. The new single is fantastic, and it's great to see that it has had a really good connection with people since its release, and
Oh
long may
yeah.
that continue. Good luck with the album next year, and of course in the immediate future. Obviously, the tour that you've got coming up over the next couple of months.
Yes. Thank you, Mark. It was a real pleasure. Thanks for inviting me on. I enjoyed that a lot.
And all that leaves me to say is to thank everyone for listening to the latest This Is the Music Meets podcast. Please subscribe so you never miss out on any brand new episodes. And if you're loving the podcast, please leave a comment as I would love to hear from you. If you're watching this episode on Spotify or Apple Podcast, then stay tuned, because at the end of the episode you'll be able to hear the fantastic new single from Dodgy. It's called Hello Beautiful, and it's going to appear on the band's new album of the same name, which is due for release in May 2026. And that new single is available right now on all streaming and download platforms. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you very, very soon for another This Is The Music Meets podcast. And remember, the future is bright, the future is indie.